Seduced by the Specter Lover of Thornhill, an original audio story. Jessica had always felt drawn to the old, abandoned mansion on the edge of town. Built in the late 1800s, Thornhill Manor was once the most extravagant estate for miles around. Jessica loved gazing at the intricate stonework and towering spires whenever she passed by. Like most of the townsfolk, she steered clear of the grounds which were said to be haunted by restless spirits. But rumors of ghosts only added to the mansion's mystery and allure for Jessica. Ever since she was a little girl, Jessica had been fascinated by the supernatural. She would venture to the library to read books about famous hauntings and ghostly encounters across the centuries. Her favorite story was about a medieval maiden who fell in love with the ghost of a slain knight. They would meet in secret in the castle tower in the moonlight. Jessica yearned for a romantic tale like that of her own. The townspeople told tales of strange happenings and eerie sounds coming from the old Thornhill Manor over the decades. Some swore they saw ghostly figures in the windows or heard phantom wails in the night wind. The most chilling tales revolved around the last owners of the mansion, the Thornhill family. According to local legend, Jonathan Thornhill was the handsome son of a wealthy family in the late 1800s. He was set to inherit the mansion and the family fortune. But Jonathan fell into a doomed romance with a beautiful young peasant girl from the village against his family's wishes. One night, during a lavish ball at the mansion, Jonathan proclaimed his love and intention to marry his sweetheart before the townsfolk. The girl was then cast out and Jonathan's enraged father collapsed and died on the spot. Overcome with grief and guilt, Jonathan hung himself from the grand staircase. His mother, Lady Eleanor Thornhill, passed away a month later from a broken heart. Ever since, ghostly phenomena have been reported inside the now abandoned mansion. Locals claim to see the specters of Jonathan and Lady Eleanor roaming the grounds, unable to rest in peace. Most people in town avoided the mansion, believing it to be cursed. But Jessica's curiosity only grew over the years. By age 20, she was bursting with longing to explore inside and experience the supernatural firsthand. She did not really believe the silly superstitions. Surely there were logical explanations behind the so-called hauntings. One warm summer night, with a full moon illuminating the twisted steeples and towers of Thornhill Manor, Jessica decided she could no longer resist its call. Well past midnight when the town was fast asleep, she parked her car a block away and walked through the woods to the mansion's rear grounds. Her heart pounded as she passed beneath the wrought iron gates, trespassing on the alleged haunted property. The back door creaked open with the slightest touch. Jessica turned on her flashlight and entered the musty kitchen. Cobwebs covered every surface and small animals skittered away. She paused to take some photos with her phone, amused by the cliché creepy setting. Jessica then crept through the servants' quarters, laundry, and pantry, marveling at the outdated architecture and decor. She next entered a long gallery adorned with faded portraits of Thornhill ancestors. Jessica wondered if one was of the doomed Jonathan and his forbidden love. At the end of the hall was the grand foyer and towering staircase where Jonathan had ended his life. Jessica felt a chill pass through her, though she shook off the dark thought. Passing the parlor, study, and library, Jessica imagined how majestic they must have been in Thornhill Manor's heyday. She wished she could have attended one of the family's lavish balls and glimpsed their opulent lifestyle. Turning a corner, Jessica discovered the ornate ballroom. In the moonlight streaming through tall windows, she could envision partygoers whirling across the polished dance floor. Compelled by whimsy, Jessica set down her flashlight and phone and curtsied to an imaginary party guest. She then began to dance across the room, humming a playful waltz and twirling around gracefully. Jessica imagined she was attending one of the Thornhill's grand balls in a beautiful gown. For a moment, she could almost hear the sounds of violin music and laughter echoing from the past. A cold tremor passed through Jessica as she suddenly felt the presence of another in the darkened ballroom. She halted abruptly, watching as a ghostly figure slowly materialized before her eyes. Jessica's breath caught in her throat at the terrifying sight of the translucent, pale form of a young man now standing across the room. Though her instincts screamed for her to run, Jessica found herself almost hypnotically drawn to the sad-looking spirit before her. She now recognized him from the legends. "Jonathan?" Jessica spoke softly, her voice quavering. The ghost's eyes widened in surprise at being addressed by name. Then he gave a faint smile and approached Jessica in the center of the ballroom. Jonathan bowed elegantly and offered his hand, as if asking for a dance. Jessica knew she should flee the mansion immediately. But her fascination with the supernatural overpowered her fear. Hesitantly, she reached out and took Jonathan's outstretched hand. She shivered at the icy cold touch, so much like that of a corpse. To Jessica's shock, she did not pass through the Specter as she expected. His hand felt solid in her grasp. Jonathan drew Jessica close as they began to dance in perfect rhythm. As she adjusted to the bizarre sensation of embracing a spirit, Jessica gazed up at the striking, youthful features of Jonathan's ghostly face. She now understood how any living girl could fall captive to his melancholy charms. Jessica soon lost herself in the dance, feeling as if she was truly attending a costume ball centuries ago. Over the next few weeks, Jessica returned to the mansion night after night to rendezvous with Jonathan. They danced together in the moonlit ballroom and wandered the estate hand in hand. Jessica felt herself falling deeper under the seductive spell of her ghostly suitor. Reality and time itself seemed to fade from existence whenever they were together. Jessica knew these secret trysts could not remain hidden forever. Servants from the nearby village soon began reporting sightings of mysterious lights in the old mansion at night. Word reached the ear of the local pastor, who convinced the frightened townsfolk that the unholy union of a living girl with a dead specter had to be stopped at all costs. One overcast night, a mob of villagers marched on Thornhill Manor to confront the supernatural entity within. They brandished torches, pitchforks, and shovels, prepared to take on a demon from the depths of hell itself. Jessica was dancing with Jonathan in the ballroom when the sound of the approaching mob reached them. She begged Jonathan to quickly flee to safety, but he insisted on staying by her side. The front doors of the mansion burst open. Jessica turned to see dozens of men and women fill the foyer led by a black-clad pastor holding a Bible aloft. Jessica screamed as rough hands seized her, pulling her away from Jonathan's grasp. The ghost let out a mournful cry, vanishing before Jessica's eyes as she was dragged outside. "Please, I beg of you. Let us be," she pleaded with the pastor. But he and the mob kept Jessica restrained. "This unholy union must be purged with fire," he thundered. Torches were thrown through the windows as the mansion was set ablaze. Jessica wept helplessly as Thornhill Manor burned, taking Jonathan's spirit with it. In the following days, the villagers spoke of having done the right thing, destroying the evil presence that defiled their town. The pastor boldly declared how they had sent the malevolent spirit to the fires of damnation where it belonged. Jessica was barred from ever approaching the site of the ruined mansion again. Though she went on living in the village, Jessica never recovered from the loss of her beloved ghostly Jonathan. She would forever hear his mournful cries on the wind and catch fleeting glimpses of him from the corner of her eye. The locals whispered how Jessica too must be cursed now, haunted by her forbidden affair with the tormented soul from Thornhill Manor. The end. I hope you have enjoyed this story. If you made it this far, please subscribe for more audio stories. Thank you and have a great day.